Something really remarkable happened for me in 2020. I call it one of the best things to ever happen to me. Back in 2019, I was asked to moderate a group of women. We have this program inside of Disney and ABC that allows us to get together, to form tribes, and to talk about what really matters to us. And so I was honored that I would be one of the women who actually led this circle of trust. And seeing that I was publishing a book in 2020, I thought the perfect title for this group would be To Discover Your Hidden Superpower. What I didn't know is that it would actually end up transforming not only other people's lives, but my own during a year that was the pandemic. Now, first, let me tell you, we had these groups in person. The whole setup was that across the country and around the company, we would have these groups of women, we would talk things out, we would give each other advice, we would focus on a book or a topic. I found out that we didn't do these groups digitally, and I wanted to. I thought we could have more women join, so let's do them on Zoom. I was told we don't do that, but sure, why not? Within a month, the pandemic hit. In March of 2020, I had my first meeting with this group of women to discover our hidden superpower. The first meeting was filled with tears. People expressed how hopeless they felt. They talked about how they didn't know how they could cope, and how others who had heartbreaking careers in the medical profession could cope with COVID-19. And so it became more than a counseling session. It became a way for us to find our power and to find ways that we could actually, tangibly feel that we were part of a solution. We ended up bonding. We ended up creating an atmosphere for a safe space. And that taught me so many lessons for what I needed to do in other facets of my life and career. One thing that was made evident during this circle was that most of us were overworking. We were working so hard. We were making every intention of being the providers or the partners or the superstars in our careers. But we were exhausted, going from Zoom call to Zoom call, and it didn't seem to have any type of end. These symptoms were not foreign, just amplified. Throughout my life, I've seen where I was overworking. In fact, there were a couple of times during my career, especially at ABC News, where I was traveling the globe, I was doing all the things I dreamed of, and yet I was sleepless. I found that even though I enjoyed my work, I saw symptoms of myself coping and using work as medication for the areas of my life that I had to overcompensate for because I didn't feel I had any control. Relationships that were strained, disappointments that wounded me. I used work as a way to comfort myself. I've researched this among the other women in the circle and in my family and friends. I've seen how we work instead of working on relationship. I've seen how we work instead of feeling that we can do the inner therapy that we need. I've seen that we don't take care of ourselves and then we take it out on other people. And I was thinking about ways that we as women during this month of celebrating women could learn from previous generations. There are pioneering women who've done so much to pave a way for us. We can learn from the full life of these women who started down the road before us. We can be the generation that actually takes the collective experience of being a woman over time to live our fullest life, to live our healthiest life, to take care of our mind, our emotions, and our projects and missions and families. And so how do we do this? You know, there was this interesting time where I saw that even my colleagues in journalism, they were working harder than they ever had before, with this passion and obligation and duty to tell the stories that needed to be told during such a historic year. And yet I saw on their faces that they were working in part to cope with the stress. What is the right way to go about work? Friendships, relationships, all of our business is a people business. And yet, I know women who have said to me, it's so hard to make new friends. I know women who have said to me, it's so hard to meet new people. I know those who have said to me, I've been hurt by relationships, I don't trust women. I've learned that I've had to grow in my development of what friendship means, of what relationship means, and be intentional. You know, with my job, I might get a call that says, you need to get on a plane in an hour. We've already booked your ticket. I might get a call that says, we need you on a flight this coming week, so scrap your plans, you're going for this purpose. And I say yes. I made a decision intentionally that I would do the same thing for family, where I decided a couple years ago that even though I was busy, even though I had a lot on my plate, I would make the time for those I cared about, just like I would for work, because it was important to me that my world never grew smaller as I got older, but actually grew bigger. But that would take that same dedication as it would on my job for the people in my inner circle. A study in The Atlantic in 2017 stated that for a lot of people who have experienced trauma and PTSD, overworking became a way to avoid feelings that were unresolved. One woman in the article said that she overworked to try to run away from feelings that she didn't want to confront. In fact, they cited a study from the University of Mississippi that said among teachers who were workaholics, many of them use the work that they are doing as a way of escape. For so many of us in 2020, with canceled events, no more Broadway, no more theater, no more movies, no more brunches with girlfriends, less travel, all of our socialization, much of it has become canceled. And so what is there to do when you don't have those fun moments, those traditions that you've built upon for your relationships? You end up working harder. You end up focusing on the things you can't control. Right before the pandemic hit, I was speaking at an event in Seattle, Washington. I gave my speech, I got off the stage, and a woman came up to me in line, and I started to say, "Hi, how are you?" I stopped in my tracks as I realized this was the woman who I, at 13 years old, called my best friend. We broke up as best friends by the time I was 14 over some silly argument that doesn't even matter anymore. But fast forward all those years later, she said to me, "I know that the way that our relationship ended was not the best, but I wanted to let you know that I've watched you from afar, and I'm so grateful that I'm a part of your story." It brought closure. It brought a peace that I didn't even know I needed all these years later. And it made me think about all the relationships that we have that are so important that end over some type of external trauma. No matter how you weathered the storm of 2020, your business might have been booming, you might have seen promotion and progress, but all of us were touched by some measure of grief. All of us were touched by the stress of change. And when stress happens, we respond in different ways. One of those ways is to cut off relationship without really even knowing that we're doing it. One of those ways is to bury ourselves into the things that we feel like we're really good at. What I found is that instead of overworking, we need to put relationships over work. There are a few ways that we do that. One is that we vision board. Now, I know you've probably created a vision board. You've probably done it for many goals, for climbing to the top of the economic or corporate ladder. You've vision boarded your wedding dress or a vacation that you want to go on and what you'd be wearing when you go there. But now it's time to vision board and architect the kind of relationships we want. I actually talk about this in my book, Your Hidden Superpower. I talk about the fact that you can actually use the same mechanism that you do to hit any goal to blueprint the relationships you want. Get a magazine, cut out pictures of the kinds of friends you want to hang out with and what you'd be doing with those friends in a perfect world scenario. Now, put the pandemic aside. What kind of life do you want to live? Do you have annual trips with your girlfriends? Do you spend every weekend with loved ones? Do you have family dinners? Do you take your children out for dates with your kids, your sons and your daughters? What is it that you want life to look like? Because if 2020 taught us anything, It's that we need people. We need a tribe. The second thing I want to tell you to do is to be really intentional about executing relationships that are brand new. Contact new friends. Speak through your mask and be friendly with strangers. Reach out to those in your company that you don't know who may be doing something you want to do or may be able to help you do what you want to do. I've made more friendships and more connections in this past year because I craved connection so badly after being heartbroken with safer at home practices. I know we were doing that to stay safe. I know we were doing that to be better and to make sure that everyone was healthy. But what I needed to do, and what all of us need to continue to do, is be creative about the connections that are so valuable to our humanity. If we do this, then we will be history makers, we will be more impactful, and we will fulfill our ultimate destiny.